Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's show. I'm your host, Zach Drew. I want to give a quick update on the brand new television studio that we're building for this show, and then we're going to get into universal basic income. It's going to be a very interesting show, lots of good facts, some humor thrown in there, so you're not going to want to miss today's show. I want to thank, since last Friday, these are the new people that have given towards the brand new studio. And I want to give a special thanks to John and Nina, Tamara, Tim, Jeffrey, Lynn and Joe, Carol, Daryl and Kimberly, Carol, Ann, Daniel and Lalonda, Millie, Julie, Joanne, Steve and Debbie, Catherine, Tammy, Barbara, Ginger, Mr. and Mrs. Dwight, Quentin, Ronald and Nancy, Melanie and Michael, Priscilla, and Sheila. All of you guys gave just within this last week. I am so incredibly grateful. We have been able to get all of the heating and the AC. We have a big company out here called Taika. So they've literally come in there and the AC and heat is totally ready to go in the garage. We were able to purchase all of the equipment that we're needing for the new studio. It took us a couple days longer than we were anticipating. We were in negotiations with B&H, and we feel like we've got a pretty good price, so we put the order in. So hopefully all of the new equipment will be here next week. And so we're going to start showing you pictures of the new equipment starting next week and the building process of this new studio. I am just so grateful, so thankful for everyone that is getting involved with this thing. If you want to just continue advancing this ministry, please feel free. Just go to zachdrewshow.com, click the bright orange donate button, or write us at P.O. Box 797, Decatur, Illinois, 62525. Did I say the P.O. Box 797? I did say it. Thank you, Andrew. Okay. Exciting things. Oh, before I go any further, I also was just thinking this week that though we're not mentioning them by name because they have just been the faithful of the past several months, I just want to give a very special thank you to all of those people that are our monthly recurring partners. The monthly recurring partners aren't going to the new studio. The monthly recurring is what literally sustains us. Sustains Andrew and I, sustains Eric Rodriguez, our media contractor, sustains our accountant. How we continue forward is through the monthly recurring to make our car payments, to buy groceries. So I just want to thank you for all of that giving to the monthly recurrings. Okay, we are going to jump right into it right now. We have covered agendas being pushed by COVID-19. Whether it be biosensors, cashless society, forced vaccinations. And there's about 20% of you watching right now that are already going to write me off because you're thinking to yourself, this is a conspiracy nut talking about biosensors, cashless society, forced vaccinations. It's not conspiracy. Just as by way of quick review, the biosensors have been created by DARPA, the Defense Advanced Research Project Agency, a government agency. And DARPA is looking for FDA approval this next year. So this isn't some sci-fi movie of something that some random, conspiracy scientist in a movie is just projecting that, is just for Hollywood. This is real stuff. Cashless society, come on, Zach. A digital dollar? Well, did you understand that a digital dollar provision made its way into the U.S.'s must-pass coronavirus stimulus bill? Now, praise God, it was ultimately removed, but there are many proponents still pushing for this, and it was a sign of things to come. Forced vaccinations, Zach, you're crazy. That could never happen. Denmark has already passed a law that allows the government to force people to take a vaccine for coronavirus. And the vaccine hasn't even been created yet. I mean, this is crazy. These aren't just conspiracies. These things are actually happening. Because if they were just conspiracies, I'd have no interest in talking about it. If they aren't weighted with evidence that is objective and not just simply subjective, I wouldn't want to cover it. Another one that needs to be brought up, it's incredibly important. And I would say it's actually closer to the horizon than even those other three, as far as in America. And it's UBI, Universal Basic Income. So, this is going to be quite the show. Universal Basic Income, it's a controversial proposal under which the government provides regular, permanent cash payments to each and every citizen with the intent of lifting everyone out of poverty. Basically, to what we're talking about in a second, leveling the playing field, destroying class warfare by destroying the classes themselves. To destroy, now is the opportunity for the proletariat to rise up and to take from the bourgeoisie. And this is really a idealistic, utopian, socialist view that can never be achieved here on Earth. So we're going to get into that. Unemployment insurance checks. They're being dished out to many across the nation because of COVID-19, and rightly so. I don't have to tell you that millions of people are losing their jobs and that thousands and thousands of small businesses are being destroyed right now. You know that. But something even worse, whether it's intended or unintended, something even worse is on the horizon thanks to big government coming to the rescue. Unemployment is giving many low-scale income workers more money than what they were making at their job. $600 every week, actually. They don't want to go back to work. And why would they want to go back to work? If going back to work meant a pay cut for them, why would they want to go back to work? You see, this will become a push for UBI, Universal Basic Income. This is very, very important. Now, we have actually covered quite extensively in the past on how we believe UBI is coming and how we actually believe it will correlate with the advancement of AI, with as we're thrust into the fourth industrial revolution. That is not what they're pushing for right now. They're using the coronavirus. But as AI advances, more jobs are going to be lost due to automation, because automation will be taking our jobs. And when that happens, UBI will be implemented. Robots will actually be taxed to support the UBI. Now, I'm just going to read because I think that this is just an extra, right? This isn't a technology show, even though technology is very interesting to me. I'm going to talk about very quickly what in the world, Zach, did you just literally say that robots will be taxed in this area of complete connectivity? Robots will be taxed and it will provide universal basic income to everybody? Yes. And then I'm going to show you two quick articles, and we're going to go right back to how the coronavirus is being hijacked to push it right now. All right. So robot taxes and universal basic income. How do we manage our automated future? A striking report from Oxford University in 2013 estimated that about 47% of the total current U.S. workforce is at risk of becoming redundant due to automation or artificial intelligence. Another study in 2015 found that 45% of the jobs in the U.S. right now could be replaced by currently demonstrated technologies. So, the two big solutions to our looming unemployment crisis currently hitting the mainstream conversation are the institution of a tax on robots and universal basic income. So this is an article that was actually published months ago. And I'm showing you how no matter what happens, there is a huge push in America for universal basic income. So they have these ideas in their quiver, so to speak, and they're pulling them out when the crisis come before them. So how in the world do we tax robots? Well, Bill Gates has that answer for us in the next article. Here's from TechCrunch. Tax robots and universal basic income. Technological innovation is moving at an ever-increasing or ever-accelerating pace, and this comes with vast benefits and inevitable changes to our way of life. One downside is that machine learning and automation are already replacing jobs, and this will increase rapidly. It also has the potential to replace much of that income with universal basic income, UBI, or government cash handouts to all adult citizens, perhaps starting with covering some elements of taxes and rising in the range of $100,000 per year per citizen in the next 20 years. That is totally insane. That's ridiculous. Oh, there we go. Sound ridiculous. I feel like this article is talking back with me. Sound ridiculous? Well, proponents of UBI include well-known figures, and the list is much longer than this. They just list a few names here. People that are proponents of this are Mark Zuckerberg, Richard Branson, and Elon Musk. Musk stated last year that he believed job loss would be so severe due to automation that some form of UBI will be necessary to support our society. Bill Gates suggested that every time an employee, here's how it works, every time an employee is replaced by a robot or automation, because they're not always going to be physical armed and legged robots, right? It could be automation, built-in technology into their machines. Or in the most cases, software using automation through artificial intelligence or machine learning, that the business owners should have to pay a tax on that, much like the employee would on wages. So it's coming, people. It's coming. I believe that we will see that age of singularity, that the world as we know it will be totally different by the year 2030, not because of world events or pandemics or famines, yes, but also just because of the radical escalation of technology. And we've covered that, how it's not just the natural increase like it was, from the advent of the personal computer till the year 2000, everybody's using a credit card. I'm talking about an exponential increase. But let's get back to the coronavirus. Once again, the coronavirus crisis is being hijacked by bad actors, pushing the UBI narrative full force to achieve their idealistic utopia, only attainable by destroying what? The free market and implementing socialism in its place. That's why there are so many people that are angry and protesting and wanting America to open back up, because they understand that the lockdown is destroying the free market, which is what makes America America. Free market, capitalism. I'm not talking about the crony capitalism. I'm talking about true free market capitalism. So here's a story of a woman whose spa business qualified for the Paycheck Protection Program, the PPP loan for small businesses. And thanks to the stimulus package, that's a good thing, which she applied and she was accepted, allowing her employees to come back to work. But employers are making more money, right? It would have been in normal times in the world, this would have been a good thing, right? Well, her employees were totally irate, incredibly angry. This is a microcosm of what's happening everywhere. Listen to Glenn Beck tell the story. And he even mentions UBI at the very end. Take a listen.
The business owner in Washington State that told CNBC last week she was able to get loans for $177,000 and $43,800, and she thought that her 35 spa employees would be happy that they weren't going to lose their jobs. So she got all of this money, and she called them all up and said, "Hey, guys, you're not going to get your job." She said, "I went through a firestorm of hatred because they saw this as a windfall. They saw this as a way, wow, I'm going to make more than I was making at the spa. This is great." And she said all of the employees said, "Why would you do that?" And now they're really angry at her because they were making money without having to go to work. This is not right and not good for our health. But the president needs to look into a couple of things. You've got to reduce the number of the payment for unemployment insurance by next month. You can't keep doing this. And you can't make it so people can make more money sitting at home. You're going to see a movement towards universal basic income. The left is already just frothing at the mouth for it.
Frothing at the mouth? Someone please cue Nancy Pelosi and get that woman a glass of water. Listen, CBS News, Pelosi says guaranteed income is worth considering. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said Monday that Congress might want to consider a guaranteed minimum income for Americans as part of the economic recovery from the coronavirus crisis. Okay, a guaranteed minimum income. Thank you for the changing of the words, but yet having the same definition. A guaranteed minimum income is UBI. It's universal basic income. They're using the coronavirus to push this. Her comments are the latest sign that Democratic lawmakers are seriously considering an idea that gained traction during the party's primary thanks to the candidacy of Andrew Yang. Quote from Nancy Pelosi, "We may have to think in terms of some different ways to put money in people's pockets." Yeah, through more government intervention. Listen, just study history, study socialism, study even any time, study the presidency of Lyndon B. Johnson. Any time the government is allowed more into your private lives, it equates to failure. It always does, every time. I'm sounding like a libertarian more and more every day. Let's see what works, what is operational, and what needs other attention. Others have suggested a minimum income, a guaranteed income for people. Is that worthy of attention now? Perhaps so. The article, and she's saying perhaps so, not this guy, okay? Millions of Americans are receiving a one-time check of $1,200 from the federal government. You know, it's the $2.2 trillion relief package passed in March, the stimulus checks. Many Americans have already expressed concern that that is not enough. Pelosi said in a letter to the House Democrats this month that she wanted additional direct payments to families in future bills. So understand that the stimulus checks that were sent to every American were actually ended up being a terrific opportunity for the Democrats to test the efficiency of such a system as paying everybody in the workforce a check every month. You see, it's laying the groundwork. It's very interesting. So now let's take a look at what many of Nancy Pelosi's colleagues are proposing that she is now saying it's time to consider. This is, just buckle up, this is crazy. House Democrats introduced plan to pay Americans $2,000 a month until economy recovers from COVID-19. There was an article on Drudge Report today that said it could be 2 years before this thing is over. It's all planned out. I really do. I'll say at the very end of the show, it's planned out. They're hijacking the crisis, but I'm not in the camp that says this virus is not real either. It is real. Listen, we had to bury my own sweet grandma because of COVID-19. She was a victim of the coronavirus. And I saw, many of you that follow me on social media, I was giving you updates. It is real. It's very real. All right, so I'm not saying that it's not real, and it's not just like the flu either. And I'm gonna show that to you. It's not just like the flu. It is worse than the flu. But comparatively speaking, compared to other death rates of other things in the United States, that's what you've got to compare it to. House Democrats plan to $2,000 a month until economy recovers from COVID-19. It's impossible. So, the Emergency Money for the People Act, introduced by Representatives Tim Ryan and Ro Khanna, would give $2,000 a month to Americans over the age of 16 who make less than $130,000 a year. A 16-year-old kid, a sophomore in high school, making $2,000 every single month. That's crazy. I mean, that is crazy. Can you imagine what a 16-year-old would do with that type of money? The payments would continue for at least 6 months and would last until unemployment falls to pre-coronavirus levels. So I was watching a podcast, pre-coronavirus levels, all right? So they want to dish out $2,000 every single month. Now, understand, it's not just per family. That would mean like I get $2,000, that my wife Alyssa would get $2,000, that my baby girl Anessa would get $500 every single month that would be given to us. $4,500. We have another baby coming, a little baby boy coming in June, just a few weeks away. $500 for baby boy. The government would like to give Alyssa and I $5,000, $60,000 a year to stay at home and do nothing. For how long? Up to 2 years? Well, 6 months initially. But then it said this, in parentheses, or until, I want to say it exactly how it said it. It'll be 6 months or until unemployment falls to pre-coronavirus levels. You understand, thanks to President Donald Trump, that right before the coronavirus hit, unemployment was literally at the lowest it has ever been in the United States. Records were set. And they're saying, well, we're going to dish out this money just until we get to pre-coronavirus conditions. So basically they're saying, we're going to dish out this money just until the economy is better than it has ever been in the history of America. It's absolutely astoundingly stupid. Thank you, Democrats. Thank you. Let's keep going. $2,000 payments to adults. Qualifying families would receive $500 a child with the money deliverable via direct deposit, check, or mobile apps such as Venmo. This is Marxism. This is, thanks to Karl Marx, this is socialism. This will lead to communism. This is leveling out all the playing fields, destroying class warfare. That these are terms from Karl Marx, making it so that everybody's on the same playing field. Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. It's a horrible, horrible, horrible idea. A UBI would redefine the relationship between individuals, families, communities, and the state by giving the government the role of provider. That is actually what National Review reported. They went on to say it would make work optional and render self-reliance moot. So understand this, work optional. The vast majority of people in America would choose not to work, all right? And the ones that still chose to work would be taxed so crazy that it would do what? It's leveling the playing field. It's a collective idea, socialism. It would make work optional and render self-reliance moot. And underclass dependence on government handouts would no longer be one of society's greatest challenges, but instead would be recast as one of its proudest achievements. This is the nanny state in overdrive. The government holds the greatest power over the individual. It's the exact opposite of what the Founding Fathers implemented. This is why those like Nancy Pelosi, who are only interested in more power, are just so gung-ho to sell it to the American people. It's all about socialism. Stay home. We've got you covered. All while leveling out the playing field, destroying all the classes of people besides the few that rule and the enslaved. And now, let us begin story time with Glenn Beck. Story time. Oh, hi there. I didn't know you were stopping by today. I'm so glad you are. Welcome to Story Hour with Glenn Beck. Today's story we're going to be reading together is called Glenn Beck, Arguing with Socialist. One of our favorites here in this home. Little baby Nessa sure does love it. Gotta start him young, right? Well, on the front cover, we have Bernie Sanders, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Elizabeth Warren, and Ilhan Omar. And of course, we have Glenn Beck. Let us open up for today's reading hour, shall we? Oh, I'm on the wrong page. Here I am. To some extent, socialism is a big tent ideology, just like conservatism and liberalism. But in the same way, virtually all conservatives have certain foundational principles in common. Socialists of every kind share important philosophical foundations too, and many of those ideas can be traced back to one man, Karl Marx, history's most influential socialist, and of course originator of the hipster beer trend. Okay, but really though, Karl Marx was born on May 5th, 1818, in the Prussian city of Trier, located on the banks of the Moselle River in modern-day Germany, close to the border of Luxembourg. Marx's father, Henrik, was a successful and wealthy lawyer who, ironically, believed in many classical liberal deists. As one biographer puts it, Marx's father was a deist who found his God in people like Locke and Newton. Boy, sometimes the apple sure falls pretty far from the tree. So basically, our current socialist menace in America all goes back to Marx's daddy issues. Marx's ideas have heavily influenced every socialist and socialist movement of the past century, including the various socialist movements and parties that have arisen throughout the United States, even to the present age. For example, the Democratic Socialists of America, the largest socialist organization in the United States, whose membership roster includes Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Rashida Tlaib, cites and endorses Marx's work throughout its website and frequently discusses Marx's influence during the organization's numerous conferences and meetings. Here's where it gets juicy. Throughout Marx's works, one of the most important central themes is class warfare, an idea that serves as the foundation for all modern socialist movements. According to Marx, nearly all of society's conflicts stem from struggles between groups of people with varying amounts of wealth. So destroy the classes, right? Well, Marx believed that the only way to resolve these class struggles was for the wealth and property to be equally redistributed and cooperatively managed, giving rise to the famous Marxist slogan, "From each according to his ability, to each according to his needs." And that will conclude Story Time with Glenn Beck for today. Story time. If we don't all come together, and this country doesn't open up promptly, we will be under a dictatorship very soon. We have got to get back to work. And here's a disclaimer. I want to say this too, because I'm not playing both sides of the aisle, because I believe that we should open up the economy, but I also believe this virus is very real. Like I said earlier in the program, we had to bury my own grandma because of this. And I'm not going to get into that right now, though. And for those conservatives that are still arguing, and I'm a conservative, or very much conservative, but for those conservatives that are still arguing that this is just like the flu, it's not. It's not just like the flu. The worst flu season in decades and decades and decades was the 2017-2018 flu, when more than 61,000 people died, according to the CDC. 60,000 people died from COVID-19 in 30 days. In 30 days. Not a year, but in 30 days. 30 days. 30 days. Okay? It's not just like the flu. It is horrible for the sick and the elderly. The government actually should give a supplemental income to those who are at risk, who cannot work. I want to make sure that those who can't, that are sick, that are elderly, I want to make sure that they actually are safe and are taken care of. That is very important. But here is the bottom line. This is what I'm saying. You cannot give the entire American workforce, who are healthy and guaranteed, you can't give them a guaranteed government income. It will destroy everything that America is. The bottom line is this: we cannot lose our ability of self-reliance. Listen, there was so much more I wanted to say today, but we just don't have time to get into it. I love you guys. I really do. I'm so grateful for you. And we'll see you next week.